was talking to Kirby and Spencer and Matt a little bit about Zen and the art of motorcycle maintenance.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about how my dominant pedagogical doctrine is based upon serendipitous happenstance. So when some good idea shows up, I just bring it in the classroom. And yesterday, this book was laying around, and you guys started asking me questions about it. So I was telling you about how first time I read it, I was in the hospital recovering from a motorcycle accident. And I don't know whether that's interesting to you or not, so I didn't really talk about that part. But then I tried to get all literary with you and talk about the philosophical, and then you guys started to glaze over, and you want to know how big was the motorcycle and whether I was wearing a helmet. Anyway, I copied the essay. I thought we'd take a look at it. It's a little lecture from inside this book. It's called The Lecture from the Church of Reason. So here it is. So I think it's probably worth 10 minutes. And this way, if you think the book is cool, maybe you can read the rest of the book. And if you don't, that's fine too. While I'm passing these out, I went ahead and looked at the website. If you click on, scroll to the second one.
Sorry.
I'm kidding.
We got enough?
Yeah.
These are photographs of the author. This is Robert Pirsig, the guy who wrote that book, and his son on the motorcycle, someplace out west, back in 1968. So in 1968, I was about your age, a little younger, I guess, maybe a year or two younger than you. 1968. Okay, let's click through a couple of these just because I think it's kind of cool to get a sense of. This is the couple that he wrote out there with. Ed Aaron and Hay Bale. I guess there's captions of these. If you scroll over it, yeah, a haystack like this is almost never seen these days. They started out someplace in the Dakotas and went west. Okay, go ahead. There's like 12 of them, I think. They are in a rest stop. This is the author's buddy's BMW. His buddy was not very much of a mechanic, so he bought a BMW because they have a reputation for being high quality. And his buddy really didn't know how to maintain motorcycles or anything like that, so when it broke down, Pirsig, who was an actual mechanic and rode a Honda, got stuck fixing it for him. Yeah, there. So that's Pirsig. Scroll a little bit more. That's Pirsig's Honda. So this is in the early age of Hondas, so that's like a 305 or something like that, not a very big bike. This would probably be a 600cc BMW. There's like some nice mountains in the background. And that's his son, who later went on to study, interestingly enough, you can, oh, look at the fish. Quite fresh. Scroll to the next one. His son went on to study Zen Buddhism, and his life ended tragically. He became a Zen Buddhist, and he was in San Francisco, and this guy, I mean, he's like college age, you know, and this guy comes up on the street and wants to mug him, wants his wallet, and so instead of him either A, giving it to him, or B, resisting him, he just starts to talk to him about Zen Buddhism and the meaning of life, and the guy killed him. So Pirsig's son died because he was a pacifist. I don't know who that guy is. Here, scroll. Go to the next one. Let's see if we can get another motorcycle picture. Oh, there's the kid in the tent. Yeah, we can stop there. Nice. Anyway, this is an excerpt from the book. I think I'll read a little bit. It goes like this. Remember I told you, I don't know if you guys on this side of the room heard or not, the guy who wrote the book got laid off from his job as a college professor. So he took a motorcycle trip. And then he wrote the book about a fictional character, or not, who took a motorcycle trip after he was laid off from his college job. And then while he's on that trip, he engages his philosophical muse in a series of conversations about philosophy. Okay? So this is one of those conversations. School was what could euphemistically be called a teaching college. This is the college he was laid off from. At a teaching college, you teach and you teach and you teach with no time for research, no time for contemplation, no time for participation outside affairs. Just teach and teach until your mind grows dull and your creativity vanishes and you become an automation or an automaton saying the same dull things over and over to endless waves of innocent students who cannot understand why you are so dull. Lose respect and fan this disrespect out into the community. The reason you teach and teach and you teach is that it's a very clever way of running a college on the cheap while giving a false appearance of genuine education. All right, so then he goes on. This was the Church of Reason lecture. In contrast to his usual sketchy lecture notes, very long and very carefully elaborated. It began with a reference to a newspaper article about a country church building with an electric beer sign hanging right over the front entrance. The building had been sold and was used as a bar. The article said that a number of people had complained to the church officials about it. It had been a Catholic church, and the priest who had been delegated to respond to the criticism had sounded quite irritated about the whole thing. To him, it had revealed an incredible ignorance of what a church really was. Did they think that bricks and boards and glass constituted a church, or the shape of the roof? Here, posing as piety was an example of the very materialism the church opposed. The building in question was not holy ground. It had been de-sanctified. That was the end of it. The beer sign resided over a bar, not a church. And those who couldn't tell the difference were simply revealing something about themselves. Okay, you get it? So this is like a church he literally came across when they were out traveling. Phaedrus is the other voice in the book. Phaedrus said the same confusion existed about the university, and that was why loss of accreditation was hard to understand. Accreditation is when an outside organization comes in and puts their seal of approval on a school, says you've met certain standards or criteria. So most state universities have to go through accreditation, and that's what they're talking about here. The real university is not a material object. It's not a group of buildings that can be defended by police. He explained that when a college lost its accreditation, nobody came and shut down the school. There were no legal penalties, no fines, no jail sentences. Classes did not stop. Everything went on just as before. Students got the same education they would if the school didn't lose its accreditation. All that would happen, Phaedrus said, would simply be an official recognition of a condition that already existed. It would be similar to excommunication. What would happen is the real university, which no legislature can dictate to and which can never be identified by any location or bricks or boards or glass, would simply declare that this place is no longer holy ground. The real university would vanish from it, and all that would be left was the bricks and the books and the material manifestation. All right, almost done. One paragraph to go. The real university, he said, okay, maybe two, has no specific location. It owns no property, pays no salaries, receives no material dues. The real university is a state of mind. It is that great heritage of rational thought that has been brought down to us through the centuries and which does not exist at any specific location. It's a state of mind which is regenerated throughout the centuries by a body of people who traditionally carry the title of professor or teacher, and even that title is not part of the real university. The real university is nothing less than the continuing body of reason itself. So I think that's worth carrying with you as you guys move forward. The whole point, I guess, for me teaching is to try to get people to internalize my job. If I'm successful, then you don't need me anymore. Right? It's like that thing I say about it's not about the fish. It's not about the assignments. It's not about the grades on the paper. It's not necessarily about the points on in the computer. Right? It's about what you got up there. All right? Make sense? Any questions? I guess this was serious. Oh, it's because you're on video.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah?